Welcome to session 26, part F. Just want to go over the midterm, give the answers. Okay, so question one. Consider the following economic concept. If property rights are adequately defined, you specified precisely, blah, blah. Then, as long as transactions costs are low enough, then efficiency will result. What's the name of this concept? The Coase theorem, C-O-A-S-E. Okay, your professor believes that a century or two from now, historians will look back upon these economists the way we look upon the bloodletting doctors of the 1700s. Okay, that is, you think these economists, although smart, are proposing theories that are probably far from the truth. These economists are macroeconomists. Okay, so remember that for the final. Good chance a question could come up again. What is the difference between micro and macroeconomics? Suppose a frog jumps 1 meter, then 0.9 meters, then 0.9 times 0.9 meters, then 0.9 times 0.9 times 0.9, so on. As with each jump, the frog jumps 90% of the distance. Okay, which statement is true? The professor uses example to illustrate the fractional reserve banking and its effect on the economy. Okay, so if a bank kept 10% in reserves, add some more money, okay, $100 million, they keep 10 million on reserve, put 90 more in the economy. That 90 goes to all the other banks. All those other banks will keep 10% of that 90 million, release 90% of that 90 million, so 0.9 times 90 million. That keeps on going. So will as banks do that an infinite number of times, will the money supply expand an infinite amount? The answer is it's just like that frog jumping. It's a mathematical concept. Turns out the frog only jumps a finite length. Okay, there's a way to prove that, especially if you take a class called real analysis, beyond the scope of our class, but you should have learned from the video I had that the answer is you will jump a finite length. Okay. Question 4. Okay, let's see. What do I do here? Okay, question 4. Your textbook discussed a case in which the government promotes monopolistic activities. Which of the following is an example which the government promotes? Okay, patents. Okay, patents where it gives a company or a person the right to be the sole seller of that good. Okay, so that gives that person the right to be a monopoly. In fact, enforces it. Okay, 5. True or false? Economists consider externalities by definition as something bad. It's false. There's positive externalities and negative externalities. Okay. What's total value added from logger to retailer? Well, the answer is you just add. Let's see if I can do this. Anyway, the first case, the logger takes $0 in value, the one tree, then cuts and sells it, adds $50 in value. The sawmill owner takes that $50 worth of value, the cutted tree, and turns it into milled boards, which he can sell for $75. He's added $25 worth of value added. Okay, the milled boards, that woodworker has added $175 of value added, and the retailer adds $150 worth of value added. So it turns out it's 50 plus 25 plus 175. Turns out it's just that number here as the sum. So it starts off 50 plus 25, you get 75. 75 plus that 175, you get 250. 250 plus that 150, you get 400. So the answer is 400. Okay. Using the information above, how much does GDP increase? The answer is $400. The total amount of value added, that's how much GDP increases. Okay. Which is the same as what the value is of the final good, and the final good is 400. So there's two ways to calculate it. Both of them give you the same answer. $400 is the amount that GDP increases. True or false? Because it's such an injustice for there to be any unemployment, most economists say that we should strive for an unemployment rate of 0% or lower. That's false. Economists say there's something like a natural rate of unemployment because some people are in between work. They've quit their job and looking for work, and that may be a month or two or three. There's a few people doing that. It's something like only 2 or 3% of the population, but it's not zero. And so the answer is the natural rate would be something like 2 or 3. Some might say 4 or 5, but most economists say no, 0% is probably too low. You don't want to go that low. Okay, number 9. Okay, a basket of goods in 2018 is $3,000. In 2019, the price of the same basket of good rises to $3,300. What's the inflation rate? Well, the price has gone up $300. The inflation rate is 300 divided by 3,000, so that's 1/10. 0.1, that's the same as 10%. That's the answer, 10%. What philosopher wrote The Retreat to Commitment? The answer is William Bartley. This, I think I made a mistake on this. I don't think there's any way for you all to know the answer to that. I don't think I had explained that. So the author, William Bartley, that's the guy I worked for, and as I discuss later after the midterm, he was the guy who edited the collected works of Friedrich Hayek. He was my boss. His name's William Bartley. He wrote this other book, Retreat to Commitment. It's not that widely read. I thought it was important. But anyway, it's probably a mistake of me to put that on there. So Harry, my teaching assistant, and I decided to be very, very generous with partial credit on this one. So probably shouldn't have had that question. Anyway, true or false? 11. National defense is one example of a public good for which we cannot get rid of the free rider problem. The answer is it's true. National defense, as I explained in one of the videos, you can't exclude it. So as I said, suppose my wife wants a strong national defense. I don't want any, let's say. If a foreign country invades us, my wife can't say, tell the military, oh, protect me because I'm willing to pay, but don't protect him. It's just pretty much impossible for a military to do that. They can't exclude their service from people, so it's easy for people like me, in this case, to be a free rider. That is, if we were to make a national defense be done voluntary with say, charitable contributions. Okay. True or false? When the Bureau of Economics Analysis is calculating the U.S. GDP, the Bureau treats final goods and finished goods the same. No, it looks at final goods. Okay, so the answer is false. Which of the following government policies is most often justified by paternalism? Paternalism, remember, that's treating people like children, saying they don't know what's best for them. The key answer is Social Security. And here we're saying, look, maybe you think it's best for you to consume now, but under Social Security, we say, no, that's not. We, the government, we're going to tell you, you need to save for the future. We're treating people as if they don't know what's best for them. We're treating them like children. Therefore, we, the government, are paternalistic with this policy. Okay. 14. Your professor discussed a person who is scheduled to receive $100 million payment. He lives in California, moved to Texas. his take-home pay would be about 25% higher. Who's that person? Joe Rogan, the podcaster, is the answer. You're required to watch video from the movie Talladega Nights, where the hero Ricky Bobby stabs himself in the leg. The professor used the clip to make a point about the following. The answer is money supply and inflation. And I talked about my colleague, Cesar Martinelli, GMU professor, who worked in, I think it was the Peru equivalent of their Federal Reserve. The president stopped by and said, "Oh, this monetary theory doesn't apply to Peru. We can increase the money supply like crazy and we don't get inflation." Well, a week later, he did. He got inflation. And it was like Ricky Bobby when he stabbed his leg and said, "Oh, look," made the face. Doesn't hurt. Anyway, that was the point, was to describe money supply and inflation. Okay. John and Allie have been married for many years, filed for divorce. What phrase, blah, blah, blah. What phrase do economists use to describe John's skills and their ability to generate future income? Human capital. Your textbook described how people in ancient days would sometimes store their goods at a goldsmith shop, and the goldsmith would grant notes saying something like, "The bearer of this note is entitled X ounces of gold from this goldsmith shop." True or false? The authors of your textbook discuss why the notes are a form of money. They said it is money. This is those notes would be part of the money supply. So the answer is true. You're required to watch a video from a movie in which there's a run on a bank. Which decade is the movie filmed? It didn't say, but it should have been obvious that this was very early. This is from the 1940s, and I think I said something about the patent, the copyright running out on that movie. It's from It's a Wonderful Life. That's from the 1940s. Okay. Economists sometimes distinguish between market failures and government failures. Who's coined the term? James Buchanan of George Mason. So a rich man in 2019 pays a housekeeper $40,000 to clean his house. At the beginning, 2020, he marries the housekeeper. His new wife continues to clean the house just as she did before. However, no longer he pays her $40,000 in salary. How's this act? So since he's still paying her, they share their total income, but it's not recorded with the government, and especially for tax purposes. How does this act affect 2020's GDP? Causes GDP to fall. Okay, now part of the issue with that is that really the total value in the economy hasn't increased or decreased. Okay, just the recorded amount as the government does for GDP purposes, that has fallen. So it's kind of artificial. The point is that GDP is kind of artificial in how it tries to record the total value in the economy, and sometimes it doesn't get it quite accurate. And this would be an example. Okay. Suppose a country's population is 100 million, 40 million have a job, 10 million do not have a job or looking for work, 50 million do not have a job and are not looking for work. What's the country's unemployment rate? Okay, I want everyone to know, for when the U.S. Commerce Department or the Labor Department calculates unemployment, it only looks at people who are in the labor force. So in this question, 50 million do not have a job and are not looking for work. So retired people, students, anyone under 16, anyone who just does not care about not working, they're not counted as part of the labor force. So in this example, there's 50 million who are not in the labor force, 50 million who are, the remaining 50 million are. 10 million do not have a job. So the numerator is that 10 million, the denominator is the 50 million who are in the labor force. 10 divided by 50, that's 20%. And so that's the answer. The unemployment rate is 20%. Rhea and Miguel are two children who want to watch television. They have three different channels from which to choose. Rhea's favorites the Disney Channel. Her benefits from that channel are 30. Her second and third are Food Network and ESPN. Benefits are 25 and 15. Miguel ranks the three channels in opposite order: ESPN and Food Network, then Disney. Three channels give him respective benefits of 20, 14, and 5. Okay. Now, what I wanted you to do is look to see what was the most efficient outcome. Where do we maximize their sum of their gains? Well, if they watch Disney Channel, Rhea gets $30 worth of benefit. Miguel gets 5. That's a total of 35. If they watch Food Network, Rhea gets 25. Miguel gets 14. That's a total of 39. Okay. Meanwhile, that's the highest. Okay. But just to check, ESPN would give Rhea 15. It would give Miguel 20. So Miguel gets 35. Their total benefits from ESPN is 35. The highest are with the Food Channel, 39. Okay. Question is, the parents are considering two rules. Rhea gets to decide or Miguel gets to decide. Under the two rules, which channel will the children watch? Explain your answer using the Coase theorem. The Coase theorem says that no matter how property rights are assigned, either you give them to Rhea, give everything to Rhea, or give everything to Miguel, they're going to arrive at the efficient solution. So if you give them to Rhea, rather than saying, so her favorite channel is Disney Channel, rather than saying, let's watch Disney Channel, Miguel's going to make her an offer and say, hey, I'll pay you some money if you'll switch to ESPN. And if you just look at the difference in utility or benefits that Rhea had, there's a way Miguel can pay her more to compensate her to make her want to switch, and they will switch and they will watch the Food Network. The same thing happens the other way. If Miguel gets the property rights, well, his first choice would be ESPN, but there'd be a way for Rhea to compensate him, to pay him enough to get him to want to switch to the Food Network. So the answer is, under both cases, they should end up watching the Food Network. No matter how the property rights were assigned, they end up at the efficient solution, and that's the Food Network. Okay, that's the exam. Okay, so that is session 26. See you in a few days on session 27.